What's going on, guys? So we have the 2024 Ford F450 Platinum in the shop today because we are doing probably the most insulting upgrade that an audiophile or professional car stereo installer would ever think of doing to a truck that has a pretty dang good system in it already from the factory. The B&O, the Bang & Olufsen system, is actually pretty dang good. They put a lot of science into this system by way of using an infinite baffle sub, which essentially vents to the outside of the truck or vents to the space between the cab and the outer portion, and it uses the truck cab itself as the vented enclosure for the sub. It's kind of crazy. But unfortunately, even though it sounds okay from a bass response perspective, it doesn't sound that great overall, and it doesn't give you some of that punchier bass I know a lot of people would have expected, and even not as much as the previous generation of truck with the Sony sound system in it or the earlier B&O system. So I plan on doing an insultingly cheap yet really functional upgrade to this truck. I'm going to finish it off real quick and I'm going to show you what I did, then I'm going to give you a link and guide you through what I did and how I did this. Hang tight, I'll be right back. Okay, so we still have the wires exposed. I haven't had a chance to cover everything up or seal it all up, but this is really going to help a lot of folks who are looking for a super affordable way of adding a great amount of bass response to the system in their truck. This is going to be whether it's an F150 or an F250 Plus with the B&O system and this infinite baffle sub. Again, behind that subwoofer is a vent that vents between the two pieces of aluminum that make up the back wall of the cab here. The subwoofer itself actually gives you your bass response by turning the cab of the truck into the enclosure. Now, it does not provide very much bass, even when you turn the system completely up, and when you turn the bass completely up on the front. And when you do, you can actually hear where this thing is struggling and actually clipping a little bit. It's making a bit of a warbling sound, which you don't really want. So I went on Amazon and I literally hunted down the cheapest subwoofer with built-in amplifier enclosure that was available, and this is actually from a brand called Rockville. So I'll put a link in the description of this video to this product. Right now I haven't secured it to the back. I'm going to use some fasteners to put it through this soft material right here. It's pressing against this little AC duct right here as well, so it's not really going to have any chance of coming loose or anything. But I've wired it in using 10 gauge wire that I ran from one of my upfitter switches, the very last upfitter switch actually that has a 40 amp capacity to it. I ran it under the truck, out the side here, then over here, and since that is switched power, in essence it's not always on, it only comes on with the truck being on, I ran both the blue remote lead, which turns the amplifier on, and the power wire to that same connection. And I have a little inline on-off switch right here in an emergency. I have a 20 amp fuse here, even though there's a 15 amp fuse on the amp itself. And I use these 3M connectors to make all of my connections. Again, very simple system. I still have the inline fuse. I have the fuse on the amplifier, and we're not talking about a tremendous amount of power. This is an 8-inch subwoofer. I believe they make it also in a 10-inch. But believe it or not, I've actually had pretty dang good luck with Rockville products for their PA systems. Basically, we have an 18-inch or a couple 18-inch subwoofers that I use with my little studio for bass, and they rock. They're great. They perform very well for the price, and they're both about $375-ish or individually, which make them an absolute bargain when it comes to PA system 18-inch powered subwoofers. And again, the enclosures are phenomenal. The way the enclosure is designed, the amplifier, everything's worked really well. So I took a chance here. Again, I'm not expecting miracles out of this system, but if it can give me more bass response than this really strangely engineered, but probably very specifically engineered infinite baffle sub that comes on here, then I'll be pretty happy. This enclosure is incredibly robust. It feels to be like a steel or aluminum enclosure. A lot of movement with the subwoofer. It has a really nice surround to it, and it's super low profile. It's like 3 inches, and it fits directly behind the seat, no problem at all. Basically, we have it connected right now. I have the ground wire also connected to the ground from the upfitter switches up front. I haven't made any adjustments yet to the crossover that's on the actual system. You have your low pass, your bass boost, and then your input gain. I am using the onboard high input inputs Basically what that means is I have the wires from this infinite baffle sub right here split off. So the wires coming from the truck to the subwoofer are branching off to the subwoofer here, and then branching off to the input here through these two leads. And then again, my ground wires and all this stuff, and I'm going to clean all of this up. But takes up very little room. It took me all of about an hour to install. The biggest challenge ultimately is going to be running your power and ground wire to the back. But it's nice that you don't have to hunt down a remote wire if you're willing to use one of your upfitter switches. Again, because that upfitter switch is switched power. So before we move to the cab and do the sound test, I cleaned everything up back here. I secured it in place. This thing is not moving at all. It's attached to the back here, and it's also wedged right here, and I can't anticipate any situation that would ever free itself, but all the wiring's clean. I used this really cool fabric tape that is kind of what the factory uses. I wrapped everything back up. Again, everything looks really nice and clean, tucked out of the way, and it takes up very little room back here. So we're in good shape. We're going to go ahead and put the seat up, move to the front, and test this thing out. Okay, so we've moved up to the cab. I have the truck out of the shop now, and I have upfitter switch 6 turned off, which is the power to the Rockville aftermarket amplifier subwoofer we added. I have the bass raised to a little above half, basically almost between half and full. I'm going to turn the volume up to, let's just say about 14 to get a good idea, and then what I'll do is I'll let the first verse and chorus of the song go through, and then I'll turn it on for the second verse and chorus. Now the microphone I'm using is actually a high fidelity microphone, so it picks up bass really well, but sometimes it does it in a way that kind of overwhelms my camera's input. So let's see what happens here. If you want to get a good idea of how it's going to sound, I guess the best possible through the YouTube video, you're probably going to have to listen to it in your car or on a home stereo Bluetooth versus your speakerphone on your smartphone or tablet. So we'll go ahead and get the song started here. Give me 1 second so I can cue it up. And again, this is going to be with the factory infinite baffle subwoofer, but not the aftermarket subwoofer. We're going to turn the volume to 14. All right, let's go ahead and get this thing started. And again, this is without the subwoofer on.
Out on the highway, sun sinking low, diesel growls deep like it's got a soul to show. Big truck, big dreams rolling past the pines. Every mile's a story painted in the lines. Gravel spits and sings, the engine hums and screams. Freedom's in the throttle and the road's all we need. From the rust on the hitch to the chrome on the grill, every bolt and every rattle feels alive and red. Big truck, big
Okay, we're gonna go ahead and turn on the subwoofer now. We're flipping the switch up here.
Got a YouTube channel, it's the talk of the town, showing pigs and hogs, breaking all the rules down, ties to the dirt, kicking dust in the air. Every frame's a rebel's prayer, every clip a dare from the toe chains.
It's a huge difference.
The fifth wheels lock, it's a renegade rhythm, it's the tick of the clock. Metal meets the gravel and the bass shakes the floor. Every bump in the road just makes me want it more. Big truck, big.
That is pretty incredible. The punchiness of the bass is so much better than it was. You hit those low notes so much more effectively. It just really, really sounds great, and it has absolutely elevated the sound system in here tremendously. Now I have a lot of flexibility in terms of messing with the gain and the low pass and all of that on the amplifier. I can change that so I can get more bass or less bass. I can dial it in, but it has done such a phenomenal job giving me what I'm looking for in terms of additional bass. I'm going to throw a link to this this product in the video description in case you're interested. $100, that's what this thing cost. And you can get the bigger sub. I'm not sure exactly how well it'll fit back there behind the seat, but you can get the 10-inch sub instead of the 8-inch sub, and it's just a little bit more. But this is a heck of an upgrade. Super easy to put in. It does take a little bit of figuring out if you haven't messed with your upfitter switches, but you could probably take it to a dealership and have them work on it pretty quickly. But I'm super blown away by it. But what did you think? Drop a comment below. I'd love to know your feedback. Anyways, guys, I sure hope you enjoyed this video. Check out the link in the description if you're interested in the same setup. Guys, please take a moment, subscribe to the channel, give me a thumbs up. We'll talk to you again very soon.
Steel horse rumbles down the line, big tires roll, eating up the time. Diesel dreams in the Texas sun, chasing that freedom one by one. Got a fifth wheel hook, yeah, it's my pride. Open roads, my church where I confide. Every mile's a story, every stop's a song. Out here on the blacktop where I belong. Big truck, big RV, rolling free, living this life just the road and me. Bass thumps, heavy tires, hum the tune, under a white sky, under a big moon. Big truck, big RV, that's the way to be. Freedom's in the engine, it's my destiny. Toolbox rattles, radio hums, every town's got a diner where the locals come. Chrome shines bright, reflecting the sky. RV parks lit up like fireflies. I've seen the mountains, felt the desert wind. Every state line feels like a new begin. From the Gulf Coast waves to the redwood trees, life's a journey, not just memories. Loaded up, let's hit the road. Every turn's a treasure trove. Highways calling, can't ignore. There's always something more.